All right, this is Jake with Cabin Fever and 956preps.com, and I'm here with Eric Montalvo, the head coach of the La Jolla Coyotes basketball team. Coach, how you doing?
Doing fine. What about you?
I'm doing good. It seems like you guys were able to finish the season, but before you screwed it up for everybody else.
Yeah, man. Fortunately, we took advantage and we had a great year and we were able to finish it. I kind of sucks for the coaches and the players right now that aren't able to play. So I'm glad we were able to finish off.
Hey, talk to me real quick, and I'll put the video up as we talk. That last shot against Memorial so you guys can make the playoffs. Tell me about that play because, this was kind of a la Eric Montalvo himself as the player. Like you guys, did you draw this up as an ISO?
No, he was one of the options. He wasn't the first option, but I kind of got broken down a little bit. Memorial did a good job taking away our first option. And he was one of the kids we knew we wanted the ball in his hands as well at the end, and it just came. It happened that the ball took our bounds and it went in. So, we'll take it.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. A lot of people don't realize there's a couple guys from around here that played at the Division I level that actually played. And a lot of people don't realize that Lalo Rios, there's a number of players, Gabe Valdez from Mexico, that played Division I basketball. What do you try to do as a coach to get your kids prepared to move up to possibly playing Division I if they have a chance?
We work on a lot of skill development. That's one thing, but we also work on a lot on the mental part. We work on a lot of scouting report. A lot of times we don't worry about ourselves. We worry about what the other team is doing just to get the kids to think, differently. We see a team likes to play a lot of half-court offense. We're going to try to take away their half-court sets. We see teams that are going to like to push. How are we going to stop them in transition? I try to attack every game in that way, in a sense of like, okay, let's think the game a little bit more, just in case you do go to a next level, you're able to think at that level. And not just that, I also, I let the kids play a lot, but at the same time, we have a lot of different sets with different options that I know if, they get the opportunity to play at the next level, they're going to be prepared, in order to do that. And defensively, we talk a lot about defense and rotations and being at the right place at the right time. And I think that's one thing that a lot of kids nowadays don't understand, that if you don't play defense, you're not going to get a chance at all to play at the next level, especially Division I.
Now, speaking of when you played Division I, there's that story. We talked about it a long time ago when we had the radio show with Tony Farina. And, there was a ball that was going out of bounds, and you jumped out of bounds into a coach to save a ball. Is that correct? What's
Yes.
the background on that story?
No, I don't remember. I can't remember. You probably remember the name of the coach, but
it was Lamar. I know that much.
Yeah, and it's a Hall of Fame coach. I just can't remember. It was a loose ball, tight game, and I went out for the ball. I went out, sprinted out down the sideline and dove into trying to save the ball. In the middle of that, I ran into the head coach and pretty much, I guess you can say, body slammed him by accident. It wasn't by choice. And needless to say, the coach got up a little rowdy and kind of came at me a little bit, trying to see. And at one point, I thought he was going to fight me. So it was one of those experiences where it just kind of caught me off guard. It was just getting after it, trying to get, save the ball, get an extra possession for our team. And it was one of those where, I guess the coach thought I did it on purpose. So he came after me for about 2 or 3 steps.
Now, do your players know that you played not Division I, but also professionally?
They do, but it's one of the things where I don't really like to talk to them about it. If they ask, I'll let them know. Or occasionally when I see that we're kind of going flat for about 2 or 3 days of practice, I'll bring up different situations or different experiences that I had. But for the most part, if they ask, I'll let them know. I'm from La Jolla. I kind of, a lot of their parents know me from school as well and the community. So they hear about it and they'll ask me, Coach, what did you do? Or, or can you tell me a little bit about this or that? And I will, but I try not to tell them because I tell them, at this point, it's about you guys trying to be better, trying to be better than me. And I'm just here to help you, guide you in the right direction, hopefully to be able to do that.
Now, on the professional level, you actually played for one of the coaches that you now play against, you coach against. and that's Coach Yebra from Nicky Rowe High School.
Mhm.
What was that experience like? Because it's not just you, and I guess we can talk about all the players that were on that team that are now coaches here in the Valley. But what was it like playing for Coach Yebra as a player and now coaching against him?
I mean, it was great. You know, Coach Evers is the type of coach that he's gonna let you play basketball. You know, that's one thing I picked up from him. He's not gonna try to, you know, make you a robot. He's gonna let you play. He's gonna let you make mistakes, and that's one thing I learned from him. And I know he's intense. And you know, now I see it more once we play against each other. You know, games are close. You know, he's intense, and we have fun with it. But at the same time, he knows, you know, when we go out there, we're in the sidelines. You know, he's fighting for his kids. I'm fighting for my kids, and you know, we're trying to beat each other down. So they're intense games.
And who else was on that team? Because, you know, I know George Olvera, but for other people that don't know, Lalo Rios was on the team. Who else was on that team with coaches that are now that either coach or are coaching in the Valley?
And Lalo Rios was there, and also Alex Robles, who coaches for the Nicky Rowe Warriors, the girls coach now. He was there, and myself.
So you had a lot of local talent, lot of local flavor in that Correcaminos team.
Yeah, we did.
And what was that? What? Give me one moment with Coach Yebra that you remember, like, because you guys were challenging for a championship at one point.
Hmm. There was one time, and it's more of a funny, and well, I better not say that one instead because I might get in trouble. So nowadays, you get in trouble for everything. You know, there was one time, and I'm not gonna name names, but we were playing in Matamoros, and we had been having some internal issues with a couple of players. You know, kind of taking things personal, and you know, we're at halftime, and it was a game we should have been winning. You know, going into halftime, I think we're down 8 or so, something like that, and you know, he came into the locker room, and at this point, we're all grown men, we're professionals. You know, you're not expecting, you know, for him to come in and you know, we all know what our role is when we know what our expectation is. But since we're having a couple of issues, you know, internally, he came in there, and you know, I'll just say he used some language that, you know, that I would rather not, you know, repeat here, you know, but talking to us about, you know, understanding, you know, the overall goal that we're trying to accomplish. So that was an interesting time in the locker room.
And let's talk about this then. In high school, what was your biggest moment? And it can be if you were watching your brother Adan play, but what was your biggest moment that you remember?
Ooh, man, there was a lot of good moments. My sophomore, my junior year, my senior year, we fell short from making the playoffs. And I'll say my biggest moment was probably that my senior year that we didn't get into the playoffs. I want to say, you know, I thought I was one of the better players in the Valley, you know, and for me not to be able to get in, you know, it's just kind of disappointing. And that's one thing that, you know, that I always kind of, you know, want to make sure that my seniors kind of get out there and, you know, try to perform to the best of their ability to make the playoffs. But probably that was, you know, disappointment right there. Probably my best, you know, moment was probably, oh man, couple games, you know, I played really well, you know, had some battles against the twins from Edinburgh, you know, against even George Olvera coming up in high school as well. We had some battles against Nicky Rowe, PSJ Norris, you know, there's a couple, man. I know, I don't know, man. That's a tough question. I couldn't tell you one exact moment.
Okay, I'm gonna hold you to
For
this
sure,
one.
I was focused, and my goal was trying to win and trying to go play at the next level. That was the main thing I tried to do. You know, coming up in high school.
Okay, I'm gonna hold this one to you. You have to answer this one. You can't like get away from this one.
I am.
All right, your brother Adan played at Corpus Christi, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and then he went to Kingsville. He went to the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
Who is better between you two?
Oh, I am, hands down. Hands down. Hands down. I mean, I taught him everything he knows. It's as simple as that. I taught him everything he knows, and he knows it. He won't admit it, but he knows that's the truth. You know, come down in the summer. If we work him out. I put him through workouts. I, you know, obviously, you know, he did his part. I'm not gonna lie, but he did, he still had to implement what I was trying to teach him to get to that next level. And he was a good kid, and he was very coachable. So, but hands down, the best athlete, best basketball player.
All right. Now, you don't have to name names on this one, but are there coaches that you prefer not to play against because of either personality conflicts or you just don't want to play against them? You don't like them?
No, maybe some coaches I'm not playing against, the coach. I want to play the best, teams out there, If I like a coach, don't like a coach, to me, it's all about, seeing where measuring my team against the best, But to say that I don't want to play against the coach or anything like that, no, once we're there, we're out there competing. Let's see who gets the best of who.
Okay, you've got a new district next year. This is second to last question. You've got a new district next year. How competitive can you guys be? Because you're going to lose all those McAllens out of your district, and now you're going to have a very different district. What do you think?
Yeah, we talked about that with the kids before we went on this little break, I guess you can say, and it's competitive. I would say, it's about the same. Maybe a little bit tougher just because we added more teams, and it's going to be, a longer season, district season. So the grind's going to be hard. I know Econ's going to be tough. He's got about 3 good kids that are coming back that are very athletic, very sound skill-wise. So Vela, Vela's going to be young, but they play well as a team. PJ Norris has, a lot of their players back. He's got the offensive MVP back. So and Edinburgh North, they have that tradition. Edinburgh High, they've been better the last couple of years. So I know they made the playoffs this past year, got to the second round. So it's going to be tough, but I tell my kids, we play every year to win district, and if you don't want to play for that, then you can go play somewhere else. But that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we try to preach every single game, trying to win a game.
Okay, last question, and then we'll wrap it up. You can go back to whatever you're doing right now.
Finishing my 1,000 push-ups.
Okay, your 1,000 push-ups. All right, who is your top 5 players that you've seen play or you've played against?
In high school?
Yeah. Or no, it can be coaching or the ones you played against. So, you can date yourself because that was back in, when did you graduate? 2001, right?
Yeah. Oh, man, there's 2000. I graduated. That's a tough question. I'll tell you this. I think skill-wise, in a sense of ball handling, maybe shooting, I think kids nowadays are better. But I think when I was coming up and, in years past, I think kids worked harder. I think, I tell my kids all the time, we talk about it all the time. One of my assistant coaches, we played high school ball together, and we used to play on Tuesday night. After the games, we were at the park playing basketball. Weekends, we were playing basketball. After practice, we were playing basketball. I can go down the line, at La Jolla High School and tell you that about 90% of my basketball kids could probably dribble the ball better than me. But I think nowadays, back in the day, we used to work harder. I think we were more athletic. And I think basketball IQ was a lot better compared to what it is now. But if you put me against skill-wise, some of the kids, there's a lot of kids that I can say had better ball handling than me, are probably better shooters than me. But you go on the court against me, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not gonna beat me just because that's the kind of mindset we had growing up. So it's hard for me to say, 5. I'll be number 1. I'm gonna be humble, confident. I'm number 1. I know Lalo's up there, Gabe Valdez is up there, and I'm naming old school guys, Brian's up there, and I guess I'm doing this because they also play college ball, and I give a lot of weight into that. A lot of kids nowadays, they go play for 1 year, have a semester, they come back, and I get in trouble for saying stuff like that because people think that, I'm trying to put kids down, and that's not necessarily the truth. I'm just, I try to tell the kids I've lived it, I'm trying to tell you what it takes and what you have to do to get there. If you don't want to hear the truth, then don't ask me that question, because
there's a great story that people don't probably know, and this is one because Eric and I play on a men's league. Well, I'm on the team. Eric plays on a men's league team, and I don't know if you remember this. All the Mackay guys that played with JJ Avila, the one that went to the Sweet 16 for 4 years in a row. A lot of people don't realize, you know, they rotated everybody on you during a game, and these were intense games. These were, white knuckle, blood on the ground kind of games. You know, these were real physical games. And you hit, how many points was it? You hit about 7 threes at least.
Yeah, something like that. But it goes back to what I was saying. You know, we grew up, we're not going to lose. You know, you had all this success. I don't care what success you had. You're on the court against me now. You know, you're going up against my team, and we're not gonna fail, or we're not gonna lose. And if we do, you're gonna lose because we beat ourselves, not because you beat us. You know, and that's the kind of mindset that, you know, I try to preach to the kids, you know, with my program nowadays. Because I might be old, I might be out of shape, but you know, it's gonna be hard to beat us. It's gonna be hard to beat us.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to see next year if your team can, emulate their coach and, bring that hard to beat mentality there.
Hopefully this year you can, come out and give us some media time, because this year you didn't come out at all, man.
Well, I wasn't covering, but if everything goes right and everybody, goes out of business, I'll be back.
Oh, but you always find a way to get on social media or something, so you can go out there and record a couple of clips and post them. So
I just remember getting in trouble because I went to one of your games and your fans were so cool because they were playing role and they were saying cool arrow. And I was like, man, that's really good. They're supporting the other team. And I thought that was one of the coolest things in the world. There's somebody from up north, I'm a Yankee. I thought your kid saying cool arrow was really cool.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. When we're having some success, our fans are great. They come out and support us, and they bring that old school, chants back into the gym, and I can appreciate that. Whether it gets you in trouble or themselves in trouble, at the end of the day, it's about supporting, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and if you haven't been to a game in La Jolla, especially when it's a big game, it's crazy. It's crazy intense.
Yes, sir.
But, all right, Eric, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. It's Cabin Fever here on 956 Preps, and we'll be back later with another interview with another coach.